This is Bahamas Drill Journalist, where we explain the lives of some of the most dangerous criminals, kingpins and most wanted people of the Bahamas. The Bahamas is a nation built up of 700 islands and keys. Every year the Bahamas faces an epidemic of gun violence, most commonly in the city of Nassau, New Providence. For a small island with more than 300,000 people with 700 people shot and more than 200 killed per year. Our first stop is the Camp Road community, where we're going to take you inside of the Crack Nation and Buta Block gang members. Located in the heart of Nassau, where it's a wave of violence across the small city. Number 1, 18-year-old Herique McPhee aka Drippy. Herique was the little sister of 7 siblings. During her childhood life, most of her siblings were to be upbringing gang leaders. Herique Drippy was born on the 17th of January 1998 at the Princess Margaret Hospital, give birth by her mother Blanche Mackenzie. Before Herique would even turn 1 year old, she would lose her father. Her dad was shot in the head with the AK-47. This incident unfolded right in front of his home. Some people say it's because he was a gang leader in the city, but Herique's mom said that that's not true at the time. But later then Herique would witness one of her brothers being murdered in front of her when she was very young of teenage, and death would become a common theme in her life. She also had a brother by the name of Renardo Bastian, better known by his street name Crackteeth, who would be murdered shortly after, and they were very close growing up. Herique was a pretty nice girl, seemed to be a normal girl at the time. Of 14 years old, she enjoyed hanging out with her friends. She had boyfriends and she was an honor roll student. At an early age, Herique had dreams of becoming a social worker and helping out less fortunate kids in poverty neighborhoods. She attended and graduated Charles R. Walker Senior High School. It started a local restaurant job at a fast food franchise called Burger King. It was rumored Herique was also paying guys to sell narcotics and other drugs while she worked as a decoy worker. But back in the middle school of her 9th grade year, Herique was making a change. Her grades were slipping, she was having behavioral issues and were absent at school a lot. Herique's mother noticed she was spending a lot more time on the block with her brothers and their entourage called the CN or BN Camp Road crew, with its most prominent member and leader being Renardo Bastian aka Crackteeth, who were to be murdered after being released from a local police station with 5 of his henchmen. Drippy or Herique wasn't a shooter at this time of her brother's deaths, but she would fight girls from rival neighborhoods who would disrespect their deaths. One time Herique stabbed a female student in school when she was just about to graduate for replying a rival gang of her brother Crackteeth. One of their biggest rivals were basically right across the street, located South Pinewood Gardens. But what started this small neighborhood beefs and schoolyard fights were escalating into gunplay. Herique would start to lose more and more of her friends, especially when the 6th man was shot to death in the Camp Road neighborhood off Jerome Avenue. A well-respected member of Crack Nation known as Mario Brown aka Ridge, or Buta, said that the killer of their 6 members was placed by Dirty South gang members. The Dirty South leader Duran Neely aka Monster, who was growing a reputation in the streets for being a shooter in just a few months, had a few guys jump on his bandwagon of extortion, drug smuggling and murder for hire. Monster would lose Rashad Larota aka Rattling after losing his right-hand man Swamper Dog. And the Crack Nation gang would lose somebody who was very close to Drippy, someone she grew up with by the name of Ken. Ken was stabbed in a schoolyard fight by 2 YBN Fox Nation members, better known by 2-Step or Tiger Nation. Ken was a beloved member of 6 Block Double B. Soon after his death, a rival member 2-Step Box was shot and killed. It's said as 2-Step Box sat out on his porch, he was ambushed and executed like his rival YTN Smokey. A car with 2 men identified to the police as Burger, Stitch, and Mally pulled up on 2-Step Box seeking revenge for the shooting that 2-Step Peppa pulled on their homie. 2 members from Dirty South and 1 member from the Grove. According to witnesses, one of the men identified as Burger exited the vehicle with the half mask over his face. Burger exchanged a few words with 2-Step Box, then a large tactical Glock was shown and Box was shot in the chest and face. 2-Step Box then stumbled away and fell on the ground. Then the gunman stood over him and fired 3 more shots into his body before getting back in the vehicle and speeding away. It said that Burger and Stitch was sending a message to local 2-Step rapper Eastside Baby. Sandilands village community then renamed their gang B-Man Block as a way to pay honor to their fallen friend Peppa. And they would also say that they were smoking on box in viral social media posts on Instagram, Facebook, even music videos uploaded to YouTube. Oppositions would quickly transform this from an act of endearment into an act of disrespect, like when the rising Chicago rapper Chief Keef started using the term. Like his famous rap lyric "Smoking Tuka, Burger, and Stitch" use it as a way to taunt their rivals from Madness and DSN, but it wasn't just in the streets. The dead were being disrespected on social media, what would become a battleground for different upcoming gangs. These gangs were going back and forth making death threats and disrespecting each other's dead homies, increasing the violence and murder rate in the city. The death of Herique brother Half Man turned little Herique heart completely black. When Half Man was murdered on their family porch by 5 masked men with assault rifles. Soon after, she wanted nothing but revenge. She would be taken under the wing of older 6 Block members, notorious shooter and insane member Buddha, who was also close to Half and Crack, and her brother Malinks would teach the younger members of Camp Road about gunplay and how to handle their weapons and how to kill without a trace. Soon later, one a spooky night, it was a celebration on Instagram. This story was being watched by someone with evil intentions. It was Burger birthday. Stitch will be filming Burger snap video for his Facebook as they sat in a car drinking codeine, smoking some marijuana, dancing to rap music. As they record inside of the vehicle, 2 masked shooter emerged a vehicle and approach, shooting in their directions. Their adrenaline was pumping and they felt like Burger birthday would be the perfect day for some get back. Kimi would be shot to the head, falling out the vehicle. Stitch took a shot to the neck, losing his life instantly. Both men died in their early 20s. The members of DSO would mourn the loss of Burger and they will rename the block in his honor, but they would also wonder who exactly was behind his death. Many people were saying that it was YBN shooters Agent P and Menace. Back in Camp Road, many people didn't want to believe that a 14-year-old girl had taken a life until she was murdered at age 18. Drippy brothers would inadvertently create what would go on to become one of the most famous block in the Bahamas, and they will call it Buddha Block. Drippy started to get the reputation of a shooter around the city, and her profile will rise even more after she would been seen riding around with a AK-47 most days. Even a fellow GHNBB member who is also a local rapper by the name Guttaboy 007. This rapper was also featured in our prior videos. Guttaboy 007 would mention Herique in songs, rapping about how Herique was a shooter and how she was putting the murder game down in the streets. Some members of Crack Nation called Drippy Little Snoop. A famous actor, Felicia Pearson or Snoop, was featured from the HBO television series The Wire. Herique had the demeanor of Snoop's toughness and a look that was deadly. She was reminded by her gang of the character from the classic TV show. After Crackteeth's death, Herique was now in the trenches of the Bahamas gang wars. Drippy was being supplied with weapons through very interesting origins. There are stories of U.S. soldiers smuggling weapons to certain gangs in the Bahamas. One of those gangs, hailing all the way from the south side, is the Dirty South Nation, led by Duran Neely, who are in the middle of a very violent war against a north side gang known as C, and this is just one of many stories of high-powered weapons meant for the battlefields of Afghanistan or Iraq, but instead these large weapons are making their way to our inner city community in the hands of young kids and teenagers waging war on one another. After Crackteeth funeral, Drippy would change her social media user to Crackteeth's assassin. Drippy stopped targeting certain neighborhoods like Madness and One Order. These hoods were beefing while she would go at the bigger targets like Mad-Ass North, Dirty South Nation, and Fire and Theft, as she always make it know via social media posts. Anybody could get it. After dissing her brothers in music videos and songs, Drippy would make good on her wish of wanting to have a shootout with Jay and his cousin Jay would be spotted outside of the Pinewood Gardens. It said that Drippy along with Neno and Spooky Heads ran down on him, spraying up the block and shooting Jayway in the leg, but they were able to survive this attack. Jayway tweeted about the memory of DS and Lance, and said fuck Crack. They would also vow to get revenge in his name for his leg shot. But despite the bloodshed between Crack Nation, Mad-Ass and YBN, most oppositions communicate with each other via social media for laughs and jokes. Like, comment, subscribe. More